In this video, we'll look at a game for under 1,000 rated players and mainly focus on some simple tactics and certain psychological part of the game. Okay, the game started out with the ready opening. It's pretty straightforward, simply develop most of your pieces. White played second move on g3, which is an interesting idea to fin cattle the bishop. After black plays pawn to e5, it's important to play d3, stopping black from pushing pawn to e4, attacking the knight. Certainly, for someone who's new in chess, it's probably even better to play d4 just to control the center, or e4 for those who play e4 on the first move. So focus on control the center and developing your pieces early in the game. G3 is fine, E5, and here D3 makes more sense to stop E4. E4 itself is not a bad move. It's by any means for our current stage at under 1,000. But as you get stronger, we'll realize that if we develop both of those pawns for the bishop, then it's a hard decision for the bishop to choose. If the bishop goes to this side, we'll be having some weak spot on h3 and g2. And then on the other hand, if white plays bishop g2 later on, then this diagonal is a little bit weak for white. So try to avoid moving 2 pawns for the open side of your bishop. Okay. So knight f6, simple move, and it's attacking the pawn. It's much more makes much more sense for white to simply develop the knight and protect the pawn. This happens a lot for under 1,000 players, especially newer players who like to play fast. They play one move and then immediately next move they react without thinking. So I think this game white was planning to go bishop g2 already 2 moves ago. But then black played knight f6 trying to attack the pawn. White forgot that it's important to protect the pawn first before developing the bishop. So here black took the pawn. Queen e2 is a good move. d5, castle, bishop e7, d3. Okay, now we get the pawn back. Because black has to move the knight back, white will be able to win on e5. Retreat the knights, but winning an extra pawn. So white got back into the game without any problem. Certainly for black, probably at this moment, after queen e2, d5, castle, bishop d6 protecting the pawn would be a better choice. Alright, after d3, black panicked a little bit. Here, again, it's much better to simply give back the pawn and play a normal game. But in the game, black tried to counterattack, knowing that if retreat, we're losing back a pawn. So black tried to play knight d4, attacking the queen. But unfortunately, there's a big problem with this move. Can you see what's the problem? Okay, so here, even though white cannot take the knight on e4, because then white loses the queen. But what white can do instead is take on d4 first. And then black has to take back. Now white takes the knight on e4, which was originally being attacked. So in a nutshell, white won 2 knights for the price of 1. And this is a common issue for newer players. Whenever there's a capture, we need to make sure we get out on top from the trace instead of giving more and getting back less. Alright, in the game that did happen, and black tried to play knight g3, winning back a pawn, attacking the queen. Doesn't change too much. So after all the trade happened, white is a piece up. queen f2 is a nice move, attacking on f7 as well as attacking on d4. Black wisely castled. Queen takes d4. Now white is up a piece for 1 pawn. So definitely white is a little bit better. b6. All right. Black was focused on a specific plan. And this is a common tactics for many under 1000 players. Look at the queen and the king. They're on the same diagonal. And black is saying, I want to take advantage of those pieces on the same diagonal. So, for example, if white plays a3, black will be able to go bishop c5. And in fact, this idea happened in the game. However, from white's point of view, it's our turn. We need to avoid getting into trouble there. So how can we get out of trouble? There's a couple ways, couple ideas, and multiple ways to avoid losing the queen. But the simplest idea is to move your king or move your queen out of the diagonal. So afterward, there's no more pin. Or move the king, as we mentioned first, and then move the queen out of the way anyway. Okay? Second, we can play pawn to b4. I wouldn't recommend this move for another reason, but the idea of this move is to stop bishop c5. Because then pawn can take it. Unfortunately, by playing b4, we're running into another tactic. It's not on this diagonal anymore, but rather it's on the a1 to a shade diagonal. Can you see how black can take advantage of the a1 to a shade diagonal? Okay, bishop f6, making a skewer on the queen and the rook. It's not fun for white. All right. Another way to move the queen out of the way would be queen to d5. The bishop is defending the queen, so it's trading the queen and winning a pawn. And in general, when you're up material, you do want to trade as much pieces as possible to simplify the position. All right, in the game, white saw that d5 pawn can be taken, but took it in the wrong way, using the bishop to take. And what white forgot here is the pin on g1 to c5 diagonal. Okay, black found that, but white found a resourceful response. Giving up the queen for the bishop, and then get the rook back. So let's count how much material are up on the board. Both sides has a rook, both sides has a bishop. So what's the main differentiation? White has rook, knight, and bishop, another bishop for the queen. So queen is 9 points, bishop, knight, 3 points each, and then plus the rook, 5 more, will be 11 points. So white technically is up 2 points, and the pawns are the same. But unfortunately, it's not so easy for white yet. And anytime we trade queens for many minor pieces, especially for under 1000 players, it's hard to tell who's better. And the small problem, which becomes big if we don't rush, is for white is all of those pieces are underdeveloped. And if they're not developed, even though they're worth more points than the queen, but they're not being used and it's not as powerful anymore. So what we'll see soon is white needs to develop very fast to get more pieces out into the game. Okay, in this position, black play bishop h3, which is a nice move, discovering an attack on the rook and queen on the bishop. White found the best move, bishop to g2 back, saving everything. trade. Black has a check, gives a check. Here we can see the queen is getting very active, and again those pieces are a little bit slow in development. King g1 is not a bad move by itself, although a better move would be rook to f3, blocking the queen, and if black actives more pieces, now white can try to play knight to c3, attacking the queen and guarding on black's rook e2 at the same time. And after the black's queen moves away somewhere, then we can develop the bishop and then getting other rook into the game. And then white will be having a good position, knowing that we have more points and all of those pieces are activated. Okay, so king g1, queen d4, rook f2, rook e8, very powerful move. King f1. All right, this move has the correct idea, trying to stop rook to e1 check. And possibly is already a little bit tricky for white. So potentially again at this moment we need to play king g2 with the idea if black plays rook e8, white can play knight to c3 defending e2. We can see the difference for e1 is a little bit trickier to defend. At the same time, not only black is aiming at e1. Let's say if white plays bishop d2 defending e1, black now can play rook to e2, putting pressure on the pin. And this is crushing for white. All right, king f1. Right idea, trying to stop rook e1. But unfortunately here, black can play queen d5. And now white is in serious trouble. Certainly a lot of those details can be a little bit more advanced for under 1000 rated players. But start paying attention when you're attacking. Pay attention to the small information and see if you can utilize those in your tactics and checkmate attacks. c4, not a bad move, trying to open up on the d3 pawn and open up the diagonal, a6 to f1 diagonal. Here again, makes more sense to simply develop the piece. This is where many players likes to focus on winning or at least not losing material, but forget that it's more important just to get more pieces out. If you have an active piece, it's much more powerful than winning some material, but most of them are stuck in the corner. In the game, actually, white simply made a mistake, play c3, trying to attack the queen, forgetting that the pawn on d3 is not defending anymore. Black took, king g2, rook e2, trade. All right, at this moment we recognize again the rook, knight, and bishop are worth 11 points. The queen is worth 9 points, but the queen is dominating all those pieces because they're not developed yet. And because of tactics right here, after king g1, black simply wins the bishop. A better try would be king h3. But there is also a problem with this move. And the problem is queen f1, making a check and winning the bishop. So it's certainly a little bit harder to find that. And for white, definitely when you're not doing so well in a game, don't give up yet. Try to make your opponent's job to win the game as hard as possible. And hey, you're playing against somebody under 1000 rated as well, so they might make mistakes too, even when they're winning. Always fight till the end, and don't give them so much credit yet. Make them earn the win. Okay, King G1, Queen D1. Alright, now it's much tougher because D2 is undefended, and then Black not only won the bishop, next move will win the rook on A1. Okay, and then White resigned here. Alright, so definitely an interesting game and a lot of things for under 1000 relay players to learn. Let's quickly summarize. So first thing, don't panic when pieces are under attack. It's much better to give something smaller. In the earlier part of the game, give back a pawn instead of losing a knight, as we found out after knight d4. Number 2, pay attention to common tactics. And certainly as you're training, it's very important to solve a lot of puzzles, like pin puzzles, fork puzzles, discovery attack puzzles. Work on a lot of those, so in the game you can recognize very fast. But even as you're just starting to play chess, start asking yourself questions. You have a queen and a king on the same diagonal. Could there be a pin possibility? Ask yourself those questions, and then as you think through them, you'll be able to recognize and avoid a lot of them. At the same time, when you're attacking, you will be taking advantage of a lot of your opponent's mistakes. Alright, and last point of the conclusion and summary, we want to pay attention to development of our undeveloped pieces. So once we get our pieces developed throughout the game. So certainly most players have heard the idea that we need to develop our pieces early in the game. But even in the middle game, we still need to develop all of our pieces as much as possible. Alright, and the last thing, for those players who play very fast, slow down. Don't chase trends. When you think before you make a move, you'll be able to recognize tactics, checkmates, capturing pieces much clearly than you just rushing move back and forth. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video and practice more puzzles. Slow down in your games. I'll see you in the next video.